16th June 2013. The day the mountains shook in Uttarakhand, leaving behind a trail of death and destruction. Cloudbursts, flash floods, landslides. For 48 hours, the abode of gods battled nature's fury. A fury so intense that it spared no one, not the devotee nor his god.
Flood fury in Uttarakhand, at least 30 people are killed. Close to 25,000 pilgrims are left stranded.
6,000 people, mostly pilgrims in the Kedar Valley, were killed in the Himalayan tsunami. Almost 1 lakh people cut off as entire roads and villages were washed away. The unprecedented rescue effort that followed brought out harrowing tales of survival.
भैया मौत से बच के आए, मौत से बदतर जीवन जिया है हमने 3 दिन.
Tales of terrible personal loss and tales of sacrifice in the line of duty. Uttarakhand was one of India's worst natural disasters.
हे विधाता दुनिया क्या कर दिखाए ओ मेरो प्यार गाँव परो.
Horrific images still etched in his impressionable mind, 13-year-old Paras has written a song describing what he saw on that fateful day. His village, once serene and picturesque, is now just a pile of rubble and stone.
हमने घर को टूटते हुए देखा, बहते हुए देखा मैडम, अपने पशुओं को अपने आंखों के सामने मैडम मरते हुए देखा, और गांव में जो है अफरा तफरी मच रही थी. बुजुर्ग लोगों को हम कंधे में बिठाकर जो है अस्पताल में पहुंचा रहे थे.
He recalls how the mighty Mandakini came down, destroying everything in its path.
अभी भी डर लगता है मैडम कहीं और पानी ना हो जाए जो हमारे जो घर रहने के.
He used to love the rains till last year. Now they only instill fear.
बारिश होने के कारण हम आधे रास्ते से जो है घर लौट जाते हैं, ताकि कहीं बारिश बीच में जो है मलमाना गिर जाए और हमारे ऊपर ना पड़ जाए, ताकि हमें यही डर लगता है और हम कहीं मर ना जाए.
The Kedarnath shrine bore the brunt of the Mandakini's fury in June 2013. CNN IBN's team trekked up to the holy temple town to find out if normalcy had returned, whether the scars of the calamity had healed at all.
वो मंजर आंखों के सामने घूमता है कि लोगों की मतलब जिंदा लोग लाशों में दफन होते जा रहे हैं.
और 1-2 मिनट की तबाही ने क्या कर दिखाया, ये तो यहाँ रहने वाले सभी यात्रियों ने देखा कि जब पानी उतर गया, जो हमने सामने देखा तो ऐसा लग रहा था कि ये चट्टानें हैं ना, ये चट्टानें, इससे भी बड़ी बड़ी चट्टानें कोई योद्धा फेंक रहा है.
The picture here is heartbreaking. Innumerable memories strewn everywhere, in every nook and corner, innumerable stories. We've seen dead bodies still lying around here, pictures of which could agitate you. Hence, we might not show them to you. Tourists have been coming up with pictures on their mobiles of how they can still see dead bodies under the debris.
ठीक सामने यहाँ से 100 मीटर की दूरी पे चंद्रागिरी जी स्वामी जी का लंगर चलता था. ठीक उसके बाद भारत सेवाश्रम आश्रम था. उसके बाद शंकराचार्य जी की समाधि थी.
Uttarakhand, the land of Char Dham, Gangotri, Yamunotri, Kedarnath and Badrinath, with thousands of pilgrims flock each year starting May onwards. But this year has witnessed sharp decline in numbers because the scars of 2013 are still fresh.
100 में से 20% यात्री आई इस बार.
हमारे पे एक ही ऑप्शन है कि हमारे पास होटल बेचने के अलावा कोई भी ऑप्शन नहीं बचा हुआ है. हम ये चाह रहे हैं कि कोई अगर खरीदार हो तो हम होटल बेचें और बैंक से मुक्ति पाएं. ये स्थिति बनी हुई है.
But despite the fears and the difficulties, many pilgrims, driven by faith, have made the arduous journey to the Kedarnath shrine this year as well. Most devotees make a night halt at the shrine.
After the evening pujas and rituals, the temple door is now closed, but I can still see a substantial number, in fact, of pilgrims, of locals as well, of tourists, as well as those who are here to offer their prayers.
वो बाबा ही जानते हैं, वो 3 लोग के स्वामी हैं, हम लोग कुछ नहीं जानते, उन्होंने हमको बुलाया, हम चले आए।
किस तरह का रास्ता है ऊपर आते वक्त?
रास्ते उबड़ खाबड़, बहुत उबड़ खाबड़ है,
तो बहुत दिक्कतें भी हुई?
बहुत दिक्कत आई है,
फिर भी आप लोग ऊपर चले आए?
ऊपर चले आए, महाराज जी की कृपा से ऊपर ही आ गए।
The locals are trying to ensure smooth yatra for the pilgrims. Voluntary groups are providing free food and makeshift tents in the absence of pakka structures.
हमारा गौरीकुंड, जंगल चट्टी, भीमबली, लिमचोली और केदारनाथ में हमारी कम से कम 2-2.5 हज़ार लोगों के रहने की व्यवस्था है।
रहने की, खाने की, सोने के लिए और लाइट व्यवस्था भी अच्छी है।
But the devastation that shook Kedarnath struck other parts of Uttarakhand as well. As we approach the town of Srinagar, we are greeted by year-old signs of destruction. This ITI building still buried under 10 feet of muck and silt, just as my colleague found it a year ago.
We are inside one of these mechanical workshops. Look at this fan, we are almost at the level of the fan. I can even hold it right now with my bare hands.
The college is being rebuilt at a new site, but most of Srinagar's residents don't have that option. 64-year-old Hriday Ram had spent all his life earnings in building this house, only to watch the floodwaters destroy it. It took him months to clear the muck with his bare hands and rebuild his home. He says he now has little else.
सामान कुछ नहीं बचा, ये कपड़े जो हमारे शरीर में पहने हैं, यही सामान हमारे पास है और कुछ नहीं। जैसे जो मिट्टी घूमी हमारे यहाँ, सब जीविका की मिट्टी है ये। बाकी आप देखेंगे ये मालू ढैया से नीचे ये मिट्टी नहीं है, इस एसएबी के इस ग्राउंड से ऊपर ये मिट्टी नहीं है। सारी इस जीविका की जो है सारी मिट्टी हमारे यहाँ पे घूमी जितनी भी है।
Almost 80 households in Srinagar were covered with muck, which according to locals came from the dumping site of the Alaknanda Hydropower Company Limited or the AHPCL plant. Now the dumping area was not adequately secured and the covering walls gave in to the gush of water, covering most of Srinagar with this silt and debris. Former IIM professor Bharat Jhunjhunwala, who has lived by the Alaknanda for 12 years, blames a nexus between the government and private power companies for the problem.
That is my tragedy, it's my sadness that either it is the state government or the Ministry of Environment. There is a total stonewalling of any dialogue with anybody except the hydropower companies. And that is why the only relief is we want people get it through the courts.
अब हमारा एक एड्रेस है ITI, नियर ITI, तो मैंने कहा हमारे एड्रेस को मैं क्यों छीन रहे हो?
Prem Ballabh Kala has filed a case with the National Green Tribunal demanding compensation for all the alleged damage caused by the hydroelectric project.
ये सारा डैमेज जो है इस एरिया का वो कंपनी के द्वारा हुआ है। इस पर्यावरणीय दृष्टिकोण को इन्होंने जो उसको फॉलो नहीं किया, नियमों की अनदेखी की और उसका लॉस हमको हुआ है।
Simple and God-fearing, Garhwalis often connect nature's fury to faith. Much before the flash floods, the women of Srinagar had been protesting against the relocation of the local Dhari Devi temple. That was to be submerged after the building of the Srinagar hydroelectric project dam across the Alaknanda. They believe Dhari Devi controls the dhara or flow of the river. But the temple Purohit says they were given no choice.
पिछले साल जब बाढ़ आ गई, उसमें हम लोगों को मजबूरन देवी को ऊपर लाना पड़ा, क्योंकि अगर हम नहीं लाते तो पूरी बाढ़ में सारा मंदिर जिस तरह से अभी आप देखेंगे नीचे कुछ नहीं बचा है, तो वैसे मूर्तियां भी नहीं बचती।
Faith is often rooted in centuries of local knowledge. Maybe it is time to honestly assess if the number of dams being built in Uttarakhand are more than the region can handle.
Firstly, we need to look at the total social impacts of the project, and that's not done till now. When they build these projects, they have these tunnels, and they have to blast their way through that tunnel, which leads to cracking of houses, which leads to landslides, which leads to drying up water sources.
But what about those dealing with the loss of life? A few kilometers above Guptkashi is village Devli. The furious Mandakini claimed the lives of 54 men from this village. Vasundhara Devi's husband was a Purohit at Kedarnath. Her 2 teenaged sons were with their father when the floodwaters swept them away. She has received 15 lakh rupees as compensation but has not touched the money. The small prayer room in her home has been bolted shut since 17th June last year. She admits she's lost the will to survive.
खत्म तो होगा ये जिंदगी, अब क्या जिंदगी नहीं, अंधकार की जिंदगी है। क्यों ऐसे बोलते हैं? क्या करना था? सब कुछ चले गया।
At Ukhimat's Agastmuni area, we meet Shambhu Bhatt, who walks us to his new home. With no electricity or water, life is almost impossible.
बच्चे अकेले, जंगली जानवरों का डर, बिना बिजली के बच्चे पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं। गर्मियों का मौसम है। उस घर के पास में जो घर दिख रहा है।
When the flash flood struck, his wife and children had just minutes to escape before their home was washed away. Nothing was saved, not even the children's books. Piyush was in class 10 last year and struggled to clear the boards.
एक महीने बाद आए तब भी यहाँ डॉक्टर यहाँ गांव-गांव में जा रहे थे तो मुझे लगा क्या पता कहीं फिर ना आ जाए मैं डॉक्टर फिर यही तरह मैं भी लोगों की मदद करूँगा.
The government promised 2 lakh rupees to each of those whose homes were totally destroyed, with an additional grant of 5 lakh through the World Bank to those rebuilding their home. But the catch is, you need to have your own land, which many locals like Shambhu don't have.
जब ज़मीन ही नहीं है तो घर कहाँ से बनाएंगे फिर? ज़मीन तो है ही नहीं, ज़मीन जो थी वो सब बह गई है और ज़मीन का तो हर घर का तक जो है मुआवजा नहीं मिल पाया।
जानवरों का खतरा है, बाहर आए तो जंगली जानवरों का है, अंदर रहे तो सांप सूंप भी चुका क्योंकि अब दीवारें सब फट चुकी हैं।
Pavitra Devi has no option but to keep living in her badly damaged home that is so clearly on the verge of collapsing.
जगह जगह फिर रहे हैं, डीएम के पास चले गए, एसडीएम साहब के पास चले गए और तहसीलदार साहब के पास गए, वो भी कह रहे हैं देखेंगे देखेंगे। तो अब देखो ऐसे में 2 बच्चे भटक रहे हैं।
गवर्नमेंट ने क्या दिया? गवर्नमेंट ने कुछ भी नहीं दिया।
While some families here have been compensated, Pavitra Devi and her husband have got nothing from the government, and they can't understand why.
5 लाख प्लस 25,000.
But the local tehsildar was ready to admit only to minor discrepancies.
मैं मानता हूँ इसमें 99% हमने करीब सैचुरेट कर दिया है। हो सकता है कोई 1% कोई केस रह गया हो तो उसको हम डिनाई नहीं कर सकते।
पानी आया, मकान चला गया था तो भाग गए थे।
Such apathy only adds to the trauma faced by those whose homes and businesses were washed away. Mahendra Singh Ramola ran 3 guest houses here at Agastmuni that were all swept away.
एक समय में मैं 1 करोड़पति हुआ करता था और आज इस समय इस स्थिति में हूँ कि आज करोड़पति हूँ। मेरे 3 मकान थे जिनमें 28 कमरे थे, 10 किचन थे, 12 लेटरिन, 12 बाथरूम थे और आज मतलब यह है कि इस स्थिति में हूँ कि मेरे पास सिर्फ 1 कमीज और 1 पजामा के अलावा बाकी कुछ नहीं बचा हुआ है।
Post the tragedy of 2013, Uttarakhand was allotted 7,346 crores from the centre, 154 crores from the PM's Relief Fund and another 100 crores from the state government. Clearly, money was not a problem. But call it the callousness of the administration or the complete lack of respect for human lives. For many living in the flood-ravaged state, even their rightful compensation was not given to them in a fair manner. Coming up, is Uttarakhand unprepared for the coming monsoon?
इस दीवार से तो 1-2 साल में चले जाएगी, पानी आएगा। ये दीवाली गलत ढंग से बन रही है।
लगभग 400-500 मीटर में वहाँ से लेकर और आप उधर तक देख लीजिए, इसकी सुरक्षा बिल्कुल जिसको कहें कि राम भरोसे छोड़ दी गई है।
As we travelled from village to village, the signs of destruction, even a year later, were staggering. And yet, the state is not fully prepared for the coming monsoon. In October 2013, 566 crores was sanctioned to the State Irrigation Department for flood protection embankments, but only 6 crores have been released by March 2014, and work has barely just begun. Residents say too little is being done too late. After 7 months of protest by the Srinagar Bachao Sangharsh Samiti, the government finally relented and started the construction of this 5-kilometer stretch long protection wall in Srinagar. But the work has started way too late, and the locals allege that the quality of construction is so bad that this wall will not be able to sustain another flood like 2013.
आप लोगों की लाइफ और सेफ्टी को मानी कंप्रोमाइज करते हैं, ये बहुत बड़ा रिस्की मामला है।
इस दीवार से तो 1-2 साल में चले जाएगी, पानी आएगा। ये दीवाली गलत ढंग से बन रही है।
Uttarkashi town, home to 20,000 people, is built partly on the riverbed of the Bhagirathi and will be highly vulnerable when the monsoons return this year. I'm standing at the Kedar Ghat in Uttarkashi right now, and this is where you can see the absolute failure of the flood protection work being carried out by the irrigation department. Now, in order to save the town and its people, the idea was to channelize the flow of the river away from the town using this debris as an artificial wall. But as you can see, these channels have already broken in several places, and the river water has reached right up till the town. The level of the water is already increasing, and for these people, there is absolutely no protection. In worse condition are several critical border roads. National Highway 108, the road that goes up to Gangotri and the China border, a key supply line for the army, has seen almost no repairs.
ना इस लैंडस्लाइड का कोई ट्रीटमेंट किया गया है, ना इस लैंडस्लाइड अगर ये होती है तो टेम्पररी ये जगह खुली रहे आने जाने के लिए, उसके लिए जो चैनलाइजेशन का काम होना था नदी को जहाँ, ना वो किया गया है। और ना ही इस रोड की और इस लैंडस्लाइड इसकी प्रोटेक्शन के लिए कोई टो वॉल यहाँ पर प्रोटेक्शन वॉल बनी है। तो इस तरीके से ये पूरा का पूरा जो ये एरिया दिख रहा है लगभग 400-500 मीटर में, वहाँ से लेकर और आप उधर तक देख लीजिए, इसकी सुरक्षा बिल्कुल जिसको कहें कि राम भरोसे छोड़ दी गई है। अगर ये कुछ होता है तो ऊपर की पूरी घाटी गंगोत्री तक एकदम डिस्कनेक्ट हो जाएगी।
Crucial months were lost in government red tape as the State Surface Transport Ministry delayed the handing over of the road building work from the Border Roads Organisation to the PWD.
Planning of the work was badly affected. If I have to hand over road to the other agency after 2 months, of course I cannot carry out any long-term planning. Again, there is a confusion whether this road will remain with Border Road or the PWD.
We cannot stop natural disasters, but we can find a way to move on. And that is what the women of Devli Bhani are doing. Almost 300 women, many of them widows like 23-year-old Kiran, are involved with the Mandakini Mahila Bunkar Samiti, making paintings and working in the handloom sector. They earn 1800 rupees a month, but more than that, they get a reason to smile.
क्यों अच्छा लगता है काम करना, बैठे बैठे कैसे होगा, तब कौन देगा, बैठे बैठे कैसे करके
काम करना चाहते हैं हम अपने स्वाभिमान के लिए।
खुशी है यहाँ से, बहुत खुशी है बेटा, बहुत खुशी।
मर्दों के साथ कंधे से कंधा मिला के काम करें, अपने काम कमाई में करने में जो सुख है वो किसी में नहीं है।
Dr. Bagwari, who left his job with an NGO in Guptkashi to work with the women in his village, has big plans.
We will create the company and will place the order in market, है ना, और वो जो बहुत बड़े अच्छे शोरूम हैं। सो मैं चाहता हूँ कि इस रूप में न बिके ये कि ये आपदा प्रभावित एरिया से बना हुआ है। नो, ये बनाया, ये पूछे किसने बनाया है।
These women are spinning a success story, piecing together the elements of their lives, one thread at a time. And it's inspiring stories like these that prove that even amidst the worst of disasters, there's always hope for a better future. Normalcy is a distant dream for Uttarakhand. Simple and God-fearing, the survivors of June 2013 are not angry at the way fate has treated them. Their anger is reserved for government apathy. Apart from handing out paltry compensations, the state has shown little resolve or vision in dealing with one of the worst natural disasters that India has seen.